Hi friends, welcome or welcome back. Today I'm going to be painting 2 more hands from my 30-day hand challenge. I think this will be either the last or the second to last video of those, but I will definitely be doing a lot more gouache in the future because I'm really enjoying it. Alright, so today I wanted to just talk about this feeling of imposter syndrome and just a lot of self-doubt that I've been having, especially doing this challenge. And the imposter syndrome isn't anything new. And I think, social media definitely exacerbates that. But there's also like a lot of comparison to my past self and am I really improving? So that's the topic for today. So let's see how long I can stay on topic. Yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome is present for, I think, most people, and especially in the context of art when you're following a lot of artists on social media and you look at them and you look at how much they're improving, and it's just really disheartening sometimes. And for me, especially those like comparison posts of this time last year, this time now, whoa, look how much I've improved. And it's always like something crazy. Those really get to me. And I think the trick with those is that a lot of times they're technique based. Like if somebody's doing colored pencil work, maybe their colored pencil work from a year ago wasn't that good technique wise, but their proportions were really good still. And so then their newest work looks so much better because they've mastered the technique. And I'm not saying that to discredit anyone, but yeah, I think that's a thing to realize is that a lot of times people put a ton of work into improving their technique, and that really makes a big difference. But sometimes we tend to focus more on like improving our creative thinking skills, or our color theory, and that doesn't tend to show as much, I think. At least that's been my observation. I mean, everything I put here on this channel is just my observations, so take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, I tend to see those and then look up, and I have these paintings that I've done over the past year or so on my wall that I'm really proud of. And then when I see these posts of people who have improved so much and I look at my paintings, I almost don't feel proud of them anymore because I love them so much. I really like them, but also then I compare what I'm currently working on or my most recent work to those paintings that I'm really proud of, and then I start thinking, oh boy, I haven't improved at all. And that's not a good place to be at. And it's sad that I take away the pride that I have of my work. And then also, with having paintings on the wall that I like, that inspire me, that I've done, that I'm proud of, then I nitpick at them and then I'm like, oh, I hate this painting now, and then I have to take it down and cycle through it. But that's a whole other thing. I also feel a lot of the time that nothing I create is unique, which is true, I think, for everyone. It's really hard to make something that hasn't been done before. And I don't think that that should be the goal of art. I think, obviously, everything is unique in some way because you're never going to create the same exact painting that someone else has done before. But you also are influenced by people that you like, and they're influenced by people that they like. And so we're all just this big web of inspiration, which I think is pretty cool when I'm in my glass half full kind of moods. But when the glass is half empty, then it starts feeling like, why am I even trying? I must be unique. And obviously that's not a healthy mindset to have at all, but it just sometimes feels like I don't know how to experiment and find something that is me, right? I feel like all I do is practice. Like I do studies and I, mix them up a little bit, but I do a lot of studies, or, oh, this piece is a practice for when I repaint this piece bigger and better. Of course, I never repaint pieces. I have one that I'm repainting that I've been working on for like a year because I just am so bored. Because I can only do a concept one time. So I don't know why my brain keeps telling me that I'm going to repaint things and that it's all just practice, because I think we know that that's not going to happen. But I'm just like, what am I practicing for? And I think the mindset that I need to shift to is thinking about like practicing as improving. Like I'm working to improve, and every painting I make I learn something from, if that makes sense, right? I come away from a painting with new knowledge and new ideas of what I can do differently on the next one. And so I've started trying to think about my paintings as a learning process, not practice. And the things I don't like are just things that I'm learning from. They're not things that are bad. They're not things that are wrong with the painting. They're just things that I can learn from and apply to my next piece. The other thing that really gets to me is numbers, which I think anyone who posts on the social medias can relate to. I and a lot of other people have this tendency to view numbers as a measure of our improvement. And when I think about how little my social media presence has grown in the past year, I sometimes get a little disheartened by that, especially when I think about like how many followers I gained in the first year. And the second year has been less than half of that growth, even though I think my art is way better than it was. But I also need to think about how that's all cumulative. And also, algorithms are a pain in the butt and you can't control them, and you shouldn't even try, right? Like the goal of social media, the reason why I joined was to share my art with people and to hold myself accountable to actually, paint, because I love painting, but sometimes I don't feel like it. So if I have people that want to see my art, then I'm like, okay, well, I got to make art for them, right? And I mean, there's a point where that gets unhealthy, but I haven't reached that yet. So that works for me. I mean, the numbers are not your source of validation. They're not the thing that defines how good you are. I know personally I've found artists that I think are so good, and they have like 400 followers. And I'm like, how? And then I find people that have like 10,000, and their art is not, maybe in my mind, as good as that person who has 400. It's all just a game of how much time you're willing to put into the social medias and how much time and effort you want to sacrifice to making art that works for social media, right? So in the past couple of days, or I guess the past week or so, I've deleted Instagram off of my phone. And when I want to post things, I have to go through like the internet on the web browsers, which is more difficult and is not as good of a user experience, which makes me want to spend less time on it, which is good, because then I don't have as much time to compare myself. And, I'm not seeing as much of the art of people that I followed, which is a drawback, but that's just, and I'll probably reinstall it at some point, but for now, that's helped me to, focus on this hand challenge and just try to reclaim why I'm doing art in the first place, which is for myself and because it makes me feel good. Another thing that really makes me feel like an imposter is when I set my expectations way too high. So, like, I'll make a little sketch and I'm like, oh my God, I can totally picture this piece finished and it's going to be epic. And then I don't have the technical skill to execute it, or I don't have the patience, and then it's just kind of subpar, and that's disappointing. But if I look at it from a perspective of having no expectations, then it's pretty freaking awesome anyway, even though it could be more awesome. And then also with challenges in particular, I tend to set really high expectations, which always leads to disappointment. So for this challenge, I was expecting to be a master of gouache by the end. And I mean, I've still got 5 more days. I'm not a master. And I still feel like I don't have very much control over what the heck comes out of that paintbrush. But I have improved. You know, if you look at the first one I did, I didn't know how to blend. I didn't know how to, really what consistency I should be working with. It was kind of a bit of a mess. And obviously, I still have so much to improve with gouache. But I can definitely see some improvements. It's not as much as I was expecting, which can be a little disappointing, but I'm trying to let go of that. And I've been trying with each hand to look at what I like the most about it, like what I think is the best and what I improved on with it. And that's helped me to have a bit more confidence with my art. You know, I really have been trying to just shut my brain off and just enjoy the process of creating. Because that's why we create. We don't create for the end product. Because if we didn't enjoy the process, we wouldn't be able to get an end product that we were happy with. And when I do need that validation, and I need to just go, yeah, I'm awesome. I am such a good artist. I compare my work to work from a few years ago because I've improved a lot since then. When I look at my art from 2 or 3 years ago, it's nothing like what I'm creating now. Technically, I've grown a lot. Creatively, I've grown a lot. The problem for me with looking at just 1 year is that I don't create a lot of totally finished pieces within a year. And so that leaves less room for, I guess, making a lot of improvement in my finished pieces. So my art goes through phases of growth throughout the year. So I'll focus on one area of my art for a while and really try to nail that. But then other things get neglected, and then the net effect is kind of a similar skill level. So it does help. It does help to look at your art from a few years ago. If you're just starting out and you don't have art from a few years ago, you're in for a treat when you look back in a couple years, because I say this with all love. You're going to look at your art and think it looks like crap. Doesn't mean it's crap, but and I'm sure in a couple years I'll look back at what I'm creating now and be like, that's not that great. But yeah, so the most important thing is to just be proud of how far you've come and be excited for where you're going in the future, because there's nowhere to go but up with art. You're always going to be improving. Yeah, so that's the answer to my question of am I improving? The answer is yes. All right, I'm going to leave you now, and I will see you next week. All right, have a wonderful afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are, and I will see you later. Bye.